I know there had to be a beginning to this mission and this ministry that you do, but how did it all come about?
If we were to think about just the King's Cleft portion of it,
Okay.
I had a dream and I saw a storm. And it was raging wind and rain, and there was the presence of the Lord hovering over a cave, okay? And in the cleft of that cave was a little injured lamb, and it was seeking refuge in the cleft of the rock. Just like the Savior is for each of us through salvation.
That's the name.
The King's Cleft. It's his protection for each of these children.
We are a family, and all the children here are a part of this family that God has put together. It's not something that we could do.
It's hard because this place is so full of life. I miss having all the children here. It goes without saying that I miss my wife, but the children, I mean, that's been our life for 20 years, and that's what built this place. All the years of building and working to make it what it is now was to provide for all these children that were here, and to give them a place of shelter and a place that they would never have to worry about having to be sent away. It's hard.
The King's Cleft, a ministry that used to be operated by a married couple who took in unwanted children, is empty now. The property, south of Wrightsville, still has a few horses, a playground, vegetable gardens, and a family graveyard where severely disabled children who died at the home were buried. Kathy and David Fahey said God had told them to take in children who other families had given up on. With little outside help, they raised more than a dozen children in their firebrand interpretation of Christianity, including some in wheelchairs with special needs and some with serious emotional problems. The Faheys operated their ministry for 16 years. Allegations of abuse came up in 2014 when two 16-year-olds went on the run from the King's Cleft and got picked up by police near an interstate overpass in a neighboring county. The teenagers painted a disturbing picture of life at the farmhouse, telling investigators about psychological abuse and children restrained with handcuffs and leg shackles, or being locked up in posy beds. 8 years later, with the King's Cleft effectively dismantled by Child Protective Services and David Fahey facing multiple felony counts of child cruelty, GBI Director Vic Reynolds has acknowledged that his agency bungled that 2014 case. Badly.
I don't know who asked DFACS to look into it, but DFACS looked into it. Apparently, according to what our investigation indicated, that report said they didn't see anything or find anything that was of a concerning nature to them. We took that report and based upon that report, we closed the file out. That's not sufficient for us. It may very well be sufficient for some agencies. I don't know, I can't speak for them, but for the GBI, that's not what we do. We needed to do more, and we didn't, and we should have.
The GBI isn't the only state authority that had a chance to intervene but didn't. An investigation by the Atlanta Journal-Constitution found that workers from the Georgia Division of Family and Children's Services, known as DFACS, went to the home repeatedly over the years, but never removed any children or took any action against the Faheys.
They had been out here many times, yes, because of these accusations that were being made, and not only by the children, but other people, who would say there's got to be something going on out there, No proof, no idea, never had been here, don't have a clue who they were. But, that's all it takes is, an anonymous phone call, and they've got to check it out.
Less than 2 weeks after the sheriff's office brought in the GBI to investigate the ministry again, Kathy Fahey died on February 1st from toxic levels of acetaminophen, the pain reliever in Tylenol. She was taking it to treat degenerative hip disease. The coroner's office ruled her death accidental. Her passing left David Fahey to stand alone against charges of using handcuffs, leg irons, and cloth restraints on a 14-year-old boy who ran away about a half dozen times last year and earlier this year. Arrest warrants also accuse him of beating the boy with a wooden rod, a belt, and a golf club, and making him go hungry by providing only one meal per day.
He was not deprived of food. It was the same thing with everybody else. He might miss a meal, but he was given something to give him, nourishment. He did get spankings, and I used a belt a couple of times. Most of the time I used my bare hand. I also had a short dowel rod that I would use. I don't even own a golf club, so I don't know where that came from. When he would get that attitude going, there was times when he would get up in Kathy's face, and that couldn't be allowed. I mean, he was getting to the point where he was bigger than her, taller anyway, not bigger, but taller. And he would try to be intimidating, which wouldn't fly. Kathy wasn't going to put up with that kind of stuff, and neither would I.
What would be the reason to need to shackle him to the bed or handcuff him to the bed?
Keep him from running away.
What was he doing when he ran away?
What do you mean, what was he doing?
Why was it a problem when he would run away? If you can explain why that can't be allowed.
Because we're responsible for him. It's a dangerous world out here. I mean, even out here in the country, people disappear. I mean, if he ran off and walking down the road late at night in dark clothes, he could be hit by a vehicle, and what are we supposed to do? So, I mean, yeah, we didn't want them running away. We didn't want the last time he ran away, he broke into several different places around here, stole a lot of very expensive stuff. He stole a gun from me. So, yeah, we didn't want him running away.
In hindsight, Fahey said he and his wife probably shouldn't have taken in so many children who weren't profoundly disabled, but had emotional problems that created chaos in the household. The Faheys took in as many as 16 children at one point, many of whom had been traumatized by past abuse or repeated rejections by other families. The AJC reached out to several of the children who grew up at the King's Cleft and have moved on. Only one would speak for this story, and only on the condition that they not be identified in any way, citing fears of any more conflicts with the Fahey family. The now young adult described the ministry as part family, part religious cult, and part prison. Any rebelliousness or backtalk was considered witchcraft and punished accordingly, they said. Children sometimes had to pay penance by fasting, going days with only water or milk.
I'm innocent of any wrongdoing. People don't understand the kind of children that we were dealing with here. And most of them, well, I would probably say all of them, probably would not want to do this kind of work. It's a lifetime commitment to take care of children like this. And you don't always know what you're getting into until you're knee-deep in it. So I would just ask people not to judge until they have better understanding of what really happened.
The Johnson County Grand Jury meets next week for the first time since March. Reynolds, the director of the GBI, said he expects Fahey to be indicted.